As soon as I found out that Jody was going to be releasing a watch, I knew that I was going to buy it. I knew that I was going to buy it because, first of all, I wanted to support Jody and Stephen with this watch release, but I also expected it to be a good-looking watch, a well-made watch, and an affordable watch as well. In fact, before I even saw what the watch looked like, I put some money aside so that I knew that when it was released, I would be able to afford it. But the eternal question remains, is it any good? Oh, that was terrible. Hello, you're watching James. My name's James, you're watching me, and I am talking about watches, and I'm talking about the Erebus Origin. The first release from Just One More Watches, Jody and his friend Stephen. And as I mentioned, I was planning on buying this one as soon as I found out that this watch was going to be released, even before I knew what it looked like. When it was being hinted, I was thinking, oh, this is going to be something fantastic. This is going to be something interesting. And I even had the thought that even if I didn't like the look of it, I was going to buy it anyway. But when he actually then released the images of this watch, I have to admit, there was a tiny little bit of disappointment, just a hint of it. And there was just a hint of disappointment because I sort of looked at this design and I thought, that's a very safe design. Now, safe is not a bad thing. And don't get me wrong, I do like this watch. And I then got past this feeling. But I had this feeling of, oh, it's a very safe design. That design perhaps is not quite what I was expecting. After thinking about it for a very short time, I realized that it was also a very good design, especially as a first watch from a watch company. If they had designed something that was particularly niche or very specific to what Jody would like, well, maybe it would not have sold very well, and perhaps it would have been the first and only watch from Erebus. So I think this design is a good one. And I think this design is also a very nice design, and I am enjoying it so far. So today is just my first impressions of this watch. I've only had this watch a couple of days prior to making this first impressions video. So I just want to share with you the few things that stood out to me, that I wasn't expecting, a few things that stood out to me that didn't really show up in the pictures. I've heard a lot of people talking about this watch now. I've seen some reviews of this watch. I've seen people really excited about this watch, but there's definitely some elements about it that have a wow factor to it. A wow factor that I did not see in the pictures. A wow factor that maybe was missing from the idea of this watch, which maybe is why I thought perhaps it was a little bit of a safe design. But I can certainly say now there are some wow factors to it. Some wow factors that I was hoping that it would have. So let's flip the camera and let's show you those wow factors. So I was so pleased to open up this watch and find out that there were definitely wow factors to this watch, because I love wow factors, exciting factors, things that stand out to me. And in fact, this Erebus Origin had 4 things that stood out to me as soon as it arrived, and it was not even including this case. 4 things on top of this very cool sort of travel case that it comes in. Opens up, you can put 2 watches in there, lots of cards, picture of Jody and Stephen there, polishing cloth, screwdriver, and plenty of spare links. And definitely the first thing that stood out to me, the first thing that made me say wow, was that orange dial. I have owned a couple of orange dial watches in the past and they've always been fun, and I wanted another orange watch in my collection, but I did not realize that that orange would be so vibrant, so stunning, so captivating in the light. That orange just sparkles. It is incredible. It really captured my attention, and it captured my attention all the way up until this second thing that stood out to me, because I then started playing with the bezel action. I did not expect the bezel action on a watch at this sort of price would be so satisfying and so nice, and just such a good bezel action. It is nice to have good bezel action. It's great to have fantastic bezel action. This is a standout feature on this watch. That leads me into the third thing that stood out to me, and it's definitely the bracelet. I knew that it was going to be tapering somewhat because that's what they want to do, which I think definitely adds to the character of this watch a little bit. But I didn't realize it would be quite this good quality. I didn't quite realize that it would actually have these slightly smaller links, which gives you this almost delicate feel. I didn't realize it would be quite as nice as it is. I expected it to be good, but the bracelet, definitely a standout feature. And definitely on more affordable watches, having a good bracelet, having a good clasp really helps elevate a watch. And this one has definitely done that. And something that I sort of already knew when I'd sort of bought this watch, the fourth thing that stands out to me is the Erebus logo. I think it's a good name, but I love the logo. I always love circular logos and watches because I like how it then looks on the crown, and I like then how it looks on the case back. It just makes sense. I think it looks good on the dial there, but it just makes sense for crowns there and case backs. Why would you make a logo that doesn't sit well on a crown? I don't know, but I think Jody and Stephen have thought about that because this circular logo really does stand out to me. But definitely beyond that, the quality of the watch is really good. It is all brushed, well made, very nice dimensions, very nice side profile there. Love and how easy it is to grab onto that bezel, as well as the nice sound. We have a fully milled clasp. It is on the fly adjustment, which is nice. Do love that nice deep etching of the Erebus logo. It is just a very nice watch, and it's even nicer once you put it on wrist. And it's nice on wrist for a couple of reasons, because it is a good looking watch. I do enjoy that, but the size is just perfect. It's perfect for my 17 centimeter or around about 6¾ inch wrist, but it is also really good with the weight distribution. Some watches occasionally feel a little bit top heavy, or some watches sometimes feel like the clasp is too big. This one gets it just right. It's sort of like a Goldilocks sort of watch there. Not too big, not too small, just right. Now, normally that would be the end of my first impressions video. Normally, it is just a bit of a taste of the watch. It's just the things that really stood out to me, because I like to show these watches like that. Because if you buy a watch, you want to say, oh, that's what stood out to me. And then when I do the full review, it's more after a couple of months of wearing, so I can really give you the details. But I'm introducing a new little segment to these first impressions videos. So let me hand you over now to my wife.
Thanks, James. Now you're watching Naomi. Next up, I'm going to talk about this Erebus I have here today. What do I like about it? The weight of it in the on-wrist presence is amazing. The great bezel action, absolutely love it. And also the logo imprint on that crown, absolutely spectacular. What do I dislike about it? To be honest, not much at all. Perhaps the markers at the 12 o'clock could have been a little bit smaller, but apart from that, folks, this is a great piece. Thanks for watching. Next up, maybe you want to check out these.